Alright, so it might not look it with how wrapped up I am at the moment, but spring has well and truly sprung this year early. It's now April, so I thought we'd just take a little bit of time to go into 5 key features that I think will help you have the best spring season you've had and hopefully put more fish on the bank this year. Okay, so number 1 is venue choice. I know a lot of you will probably already have your venue lined up already for spring. A lot of tickets start in April, but for those of you that haven't, it's worth just spending a bit of time choosing the right venue for you based on your ability and location. There's no point picking a lake if your target is, say, your first 30 pounder or your first 20 and picking a really low stock water with only 1 or 2 of them in. It's just going to make things 10 times more difficult for you, and vice versa. If you like to target those rarer fish, or you really like a challenge, those lower stock waters are what you want to be picking out. You're probably not going to have much fun on a ram day ticket. So venue choice is very important for that. The other aspects that come into venue choice is location. Believe you me, I've fished near and far away from my house, and the closer the venue, the more time you can spend on it, learning about the venue, keeping in touch with what's going on, what's been coming out. When you start travelling a couple of hours away from your house, it makes those work overnighters 10 times harder. You're always setting up in the dark, packing up in the dark, you're limiting your time on the bank. So although it is nice to travel and to pick out specific fish further away, if you're just getting going, pick somewhere really close. The closer the better to you. Today I'm down at a local venue which is about 3 minutes from my work, which is really lucky, and my main water this season is going to be 10-minute drive from my work and probably 10 minutes the other way from my house. So I'm staying really local this year, and hopefully it'll mean I'll be able to put in a lot more time and effort down there, just popping in after work, trickling bait in and keeping an eye on the place. That's the other thing with venue choice, is you want to pick a venue and stick to it. There's no point doing a day session here, a night there, like spreading yourself around over many lakes. Yeah, you'll catch some fish, and it's nice to fish different places, but if you really want to have the best spring you can have, it's really good to get stuck into just one venue. You can keep your bait going in, and you can really get in tune with how the place is and get a feel for it, and hopefully that will help you put more fish on the bank. So you've chosen your venue, you've just got down for your first session. So what's the first thing you should be thinking about? Everyone says it, it's location. Location really is key. There's no point just pinging your rods out aimlessly if you don't know the fish are there. A lot of people turn up to the lake, they've been rushed off their feet all day at work or something, they get down the lake and they want to be fishing straight away as quickly as possible to try and make the most of their time. So like today I turned up and a couple of guys got there about the same time as me. They just dived in the nearest swim by the car park and pinged their rods out. They didn't even go for a look around, nothing. So I've just had a walk around, done a full couple of laps, and I found some fish sunning themselves in a little margin tucked away in a snaggy corner. So I've set up on those and it's worked out alright. Whereas if you just ping your rods out, it's just pot luck really. You're really not making the most of your time on the bank. You're better to take a couple of hours and have less time actually fishing than to just set your rods up aimlessly. The next thing for locating fish is it really is worth investing in a decent set of Polaroids. They're not that expensive these days. These are the Fortis wraps. I've been using these for years. This is about my 3rd or 4th pair now because I keep losing the things. They're really good because they're quite cheap and reasonable. They stand up to loads of abuse. They don't scratch, you can chuck them, they're flexible. I've stood on them and not broken them. They're just a really nice cheap option for Polaroids. They illuminate so much for you. If you've never used Polaroids before, you'll be amazed how much more you can see in the water with using a decent set of Polaroids. The second bit of kit that I use for finding fish, especially on bigger venues, is a set of binoculars. A lot of people laugh when you say, oh, I'm taking binoculars fishing, but for those of my friends and stuff that I've let use them when we've been out fishing, they've been amazed with how much more you can see and how much more detail you can see when you're down at water level, looking over the water for a set of binoculars. It really does open your eyes. You see a hell of a lot more than you would without them. Especially on those big pits, they're an essential bit of kit to find in any shows. that leads me on to another bit. Once you've found the fish and you're set up, don't think, ah, lovely, that's me done now. We'll just wait for it to happen. In spring they're so mobile, they've just woken up. You'll often find they'll have different areas they'll prefer to be in day and night as well. Sometimes the deeper water during the night times, and they'll get straight onto the marginal shelves when the sun's really beating down and warming up those reeds. So it's worth just bearing that in the back of your mind, that if you're just fishing nights, you might find that certain areas are doing more bites at night than daytime, but if you've got 24 hours, 48 hours, something like that, it's quite worth having a spot out in a deeper area, and then during the days reeling in, going for a walk around and checking those marginal areas. And it's quite nice. Sometimes you can sneak a fish in the day, and then you can go back to your spot for the night you've been baiting, your lines have been out, the fish have been in, had a free feed on your bait, and then sometimes you can have a nice hit just keeping two spots going, your margin and the main water spot. So that's the other thing. Once you're set up, like I'm saying, don't sit on your phone, just always keep an eye on your water. You see people, they set up, they lay back, watch the TV, get their phone out, they're paying no attention to the water whatsoever. The door's done up even, I've seen that. Each their own, obviously. You know, if you go and fishing just purely to get away and have a break, then fair enough, just ping your rods out and, you know, set up. But the more you can keep an eye on the water, the more you can see, the more you learn. Even if you can't move to where the fish are because there's other people there, it's in your head for next time. Next time you're on the bank, you've already got that information of where you've seen those fish, what time of the day it was, what the weather condition was, and it will really just give you a head start for the next time you're down at the lake. Okay, so you found the fish. The next thing you're going to want to do is feed them. So bait is a hot topic in carp fishing. Everyone thinks their bait's the best, but in my opinion, a lot of the big companies and some of the smaller companies as well, they all make really good bait now. If you go with a reputable company which has been around for quite a few years, you're going to catch fish with their baits, let's be honest. You know, I favour a fish meal in later spring going into the summer, but a lot of the fish meals on the market these days, they're not like the old fish meals just crammed full of oil, so you can use them all year round. At the moment, saying that, I'm using Trigger from NutriBaits, which is more of an all year round bait, but I do prefer a fish meal. When spring gets going, I will be moving on to one of those. But as I say, pick a decent reputable company and you'll have confidence in it. Once you start catching a few fish on it, just stick with it and your confidence will just grow. And after a year or two of using a bait and you've had a good number of fish on it, you won't even consider bait anymore. It's just another thing, you know. You don't have to worry about it. You know it's going to work for you if you've had plenty of fish on it before. So stick with a bait all season. That's the other thing you see people doing. They'll start feeding one bait and they might have a fish, and then they might blank a couple of sessions thinking, it's the bait, it's got to be the bait. Probably it's not the bait, let's be honest. You're either not been on them or they're not having it. Simple as that, really. So stick with your bait, because the more you trickle it into the lake, the more the fish are going to see it, the more they're going to get used to it, and the more easily they're going to take it. So commit to a bait for the whole season, especially nowadays. You know, you go into a shop and a kilo's a tenner. If you bulk buy them, buy yourself 10, 20, 30k, whatever you can afford, you know. Bulk buy it, it makes it a lot cheaper per kilo for you, and you know you're committed to it then. You're going to use that for the season, and as I say, the more you use it, keep it going on your spots, the fish are going to see it as a more natural food. So the other thing is that I've started using a lot more in my fishing bait wise is shelf lives. Like back in the day, shelf lives were awful. They were rock hard bullets, they were always made with less quality ingredients, but that's just not the case these days. They're usually equally as good as freezer baits, and it's just so nice to keep a little 5k tub in your bag, in your van, sorry, so you can just pop down the lake and trickle a few handfuls in. You haven't got to think, right, how much are you going to take to the lake, how much am I going to use, and then, you know, you're either left with a load that you've frozen again, or you don't want to refreeze, so you put it in and you don't, you know, with shelf life you can just take the bucket, just use what you need, and you haven't got to worry about it going off or anything like that. So that's something that I've been using a lot more. Don't be afraid to use shelf lives, they're equally as good quality these days. So that's the main thing on bait. Pick a good reputable company, keep the same bait going in, and the fish will get on it, and it'll be one less thing for you to worry about. So you've baited up your swim. The next thing you're going to cast out, you're going to need to think about rigs. A lot of people really overcomplicate rigs. They're constantly chopping and changing, going with the latest rig they've seen in a magazine. So and so uses this, so I mustn't have to use this rig, or someone else is using the latest and greatest rig catching thing. But at the end of the day, you know, the classics just always keep hanging around and staying there. For me, I try and keep things as simple as possible. I've only got a couple of rigs that I ever use. I don't really ever change. I've got a pop-up rig. I use the stiff hinged rig, or a version of that I've been using for I don't know how many years now, and caught me God knows how many fish over the years. It's a strong, reliable rig that's always going to be presented well over the most lake beds. And if I'm fishing a cleaner bottom, I've got my standard coated braided D rig, which I always fish with a wafter. And other than that, I barely ever use anything else other than those two. I've got so much confidence in them. They've caught me loads of fish over the years, and I just know that they're going to sort me out in nearly all eventualities by changing the lead setup or whatever, depending on the bottom. So don't chop and change. Pick a rig that you trust, that you've got confidence in, that you've used a lot. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it works for you, you're getting good hook holds and you're not losing a load of fish, stick with it. Stick to the same components, and your confidence in it will just grow. Once you start landing a few fish on them, don't think, oh, over there he's caught on so and so rig, I'm going to have to try that. You're just going to get your head all confused and you're not going to know where you are. So just stick to a couple of rigs and you'll find that you'll end up putting more fish on the bank, and your confidence just going to grow. Alright, so last but no means least, is just get out there and enjoy yourself. Spring is such a good time to be out on the bank. The weather's getting better by the day. The nights are drawing out as well, so you can get down after work, get those work overnighters going again. After the winter, which has been a long hard slog of cold nights and wet weather, it's really nice to be out in the spring, getting a bit of sun, and the fishing really does start to pick up. The fish are going to be at their best weights this time of year before spawning, and they're still going to be in their beautiful winter colours. So it really is just the best time to be out on the bank. So get out there now and hopefully kickstart your year, and you'll have a few chunks before the summer and before they spawn. Hopefully you've liked this video and it's been informative to you. If you have, click like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. Check out some of the other videos. There's loads of content now on the channel. I try and put videos up regularly, weekly, if not every other week at the moment, and hopefully that will just pick up throughout the spring and summer. So that's it. Hopefully this will help you land a few more fish this spring, and until the next video, I'll see you then.